The justice system is created to protect the innocent, convict criminals, and provide a fair justice process to help keep order across the country. The main goal is to keep citizens safe. Judicial officers presiding over these cases took an oath to adjudicate cases without fear, favor, or prejudice, and to uphold, protect, and promote constitutional or human rights. Vulnerable witnesses have the right to enjoy special arrangements and protective measures to ensure that they can fully participate in court proceedings without being further traumatized. Judges have a responsibility to uphold the fairness and integrity of the justice system by ensuring that gender-based violence trials are conducted in a fashion that does not subordinate the fact-finding process to myth and stereotype. Today we'll witness the trial of a man who brutally assaulted his wife and how a trial should not pan out. See if you can spot why I say so, and particularly where there is any judicial stereotyping present in the conduct of the presiding officer. Judicial stereotyping is a common and pernicious barrier to justice, particularly for women victims and survivors of violence. Such stereotype causes judges to reach a view on cases based on preconceived beliefs rather than relevant facts and actual inquiry.
Your Worship, I'd like to call the next matter on our roll, State versus David, who had previously pleaded not guilty. The Combating of Domestic Violence Act applies, Your Worship. We are ready to proceed.
Mr. Lieutenant.
Your Worship, the defense is ready to proceed.
Ms. Prosecutor, is this again one of those house molest cases? Were you not supposed to mediate these cases rather than to waste the court's time?
Your Worship, the defense was willing to mediate, but unfortunately our colleagues from the state, the prosecution, is being unreasonable, Your Worship.
Your Worship, the bosses said that we must proceed with this type of cases.
Well, let's move on with it. I trust that we'll be able to finish this in an hour.
Court orderly, can you get the witness? She is just outside. Your Worship, it is also an instruction from my seniors that in cases such as these, where the witness is a vulnerable person, she may also testify behind closed doors using a CCTV with a support person. Your Worship.
Mr. Lieutenant, do you have anything to say to the application?
We object, Your Worship. This is husband and wife, Your Worship, married for more than 10 years. This is ridiculous. Those provisions don't even apply for a case like this. It's for those other cases, Your Worship. Besides, the prosecution, Your Worship, is trying to delay this case from being finalized, Your Worship, as it pleases the court.
Your Worship, with all due respect, according to the bosses, it is to protect the witness.
Application denied. No. People in the gallery, remain seated. You may remain in the courtroom. You don't have to go outside. Your full names for the record.
Elizabeth David.
I'm asking, can you just be loud? We are recording. Your full names for the record.
Elizabeth David.
Do you swear that the evidence that you are going to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God." Your right hand, ma'am.
This hand, Your Honor.
That is your right hand, isn't it? Do not refer to me as Your Honor. Please address me as Your Worship.
I'm sorry. So help me God.
Your witness is sworn in, Miss Prosecutor.
Your Worship, can the witness sit down?
You may proceed.
An incident happened on the 25th of December 2021. Can you tell the court exactly what happened that day?
Does he have to be here? I'm not comfortable talking in front of him.
Oh, the court has made the ruling. Please do not waste my time. Miss Prosecutor, you may continue with your witness.
Please answer the question, ma'am.
We were at home, my husband, 3 children, aged 5, 3, and the last born, who is 8 months old. When my husband, started swearing at me, saying that I should learn how to make food because he cannot be married to a woman that cannot cook properly. And this upset me because he always emotionally abuses me. And cheats on me, even though I always make the best meals for him.
Stop lying. You are a terrible cook. How dare you do not know how to make stew? You are useless and disappointing. How dare you call me useless? I'm the provider of that family. You are the one who is sleeping around.
Mr. Lieutenant, please control your client. We are on a time limit here.
My apologies, Your Worship. We beg the court's indulgence.
Prosecutor, what is happening with your witness? Did you not prepare her for trial? Ma'am, you cannot look for stuffs in your handbag while you testify. Continue.
I apologize, Your Worship. Miss Davids, please continue to tell this court about what exactly happened on that day. How are we supposed to understand your testimony when you cannot stop crying? Please continue.
He then threw the food in my face. He then pulled me off the chair and I fell on the floor. He started to kick me repeatedly. And when I was down, and he started to pull my hair out. He pulled them out completely.
This is ridiculous. How am I supposed to make a ruling when the testimony of your witness is not clear? Please continue.
He pulled down my skirt and he raped me.
Miss Tise, what are you doing? You are disrupting these court proceedings. Please, go back to your seat.
Oh, sorry, Your
Worship. He left. He left, went out to his presence. I called my mother and she took me to the hospital where I was admitted for 3 days.
Miss Davids, did you sustain injuries?
I have a scar on my forehead. It was an open wound. And I had patches on my skull where he had pulled out the braids, and my left eye, my left eye was swollen and clouded with blood clots. My lip was busted.
Your Worship, the state has no further questions.
Cross-examination, Mr. Lieutenant.
Expose the truth. She's a lazy, lying woman.
Miss David, were you sober on that day?
Well, I drank about 3 glasses of champagne because it was Christmas Day and my husband had bought champagne.
Why did you call your husband useless?
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I out of anger, I just didn't mean.
Were you too drunk to know if you were angry?
I was angry.
So you were drunk and you were angry.
I wasn't drunk.
Did you or did you not just admit that you had 3 glasses of champagne?
Yes.
And did you not just admit that you were angry, as a matter of fact?
Yes.
So then you were drunk and you were angry. Miss David, look at me when I talk to you. Do you admit that you were drunk and angry?
Yes.
Speak up, Miss David. Were you drunk and were you angry?
Maybe.
Maybe. Again, so you were too drunk to remember. Again, Miss David, you were drunk and you were angry on the 25th of December, 2021, on Christmas Day. And you were with your 3 children, all under the age of 6, of which one of them was just a little baby of 8 months old.
I wasn't drunk.
You admitted to this court that you were drunk just a few minutes ago. Now you say you were not. So you are also a liar, it seems.
No,
No what? You said you drank 3 glasses of champagne. And when I asked you again, you said you didn't say it. Why are you lying? Tell the court the truth. You were drunk and you were angry. You admitted it to this court.
Yes.
Yes. Did you say yes? So now, again, you admit that you were drunk, you were angry, and now effectively, you admit that you lied when you said no. So, you were drunk, and you were angry, and now you are a liar.
If you say so.
You called my client, your husband, a useless husband. This made him upset. And he pulled you off your chair.
Yes, he pulled me off the chair.
Only because you provoked him. You called him a useless husband.
Yes.
He did not hit you. He did not kick you. That must have been a figment of your imagination. A fabrication, for that matter. After all, you were drunk and you were angry. You were angry because you wanted some expensive pieces of jewelry and did not like the necklace that he bought for you for Christmas. For all we know, you assaulted yourself and now you want to blame my client.
No, he assaulted me. It's not about the necklace.
My client did not actually rape you. How can a husband rape his own wife? It is your duty as a wife towards your husband to please him. Your worship,
No.
I have no further questions for this witness.
No, you're not listening to me.
The state has no questions in re-examination. The witness may be excused, Your Worship.
No.
Let's go, you're wasting the course time.
No, you're not listening to me.
Let's go, you're wasting the course time.
Your Worship, that is the state's case. The accused person's demeanor is indifferent.
Surely it's not necessary for me to waste the court's time and expect my client to testify. And surely, Your Worship, my client cannot be expected to refute these ridiculous allegations. As it pleases the court, Your Worship.
Your Worship, with all due respect, the state did place sufficient evidence before this court. The accused person has a case to answer.
Mr. David, you may stand up. Now, in the case of State versus David, accused, you are charged with a count of assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm, read with the provisions of the Combating of Domestic Violence Act. Now, at the end of the state's case, your counsel, Mr. Luteni, requested this court to return a verdict of not guilty, to find you not guilty and discharged in terms of Section 174 due to lack of evidence. Now, clearly, the complainant, who was a single witness in this matter, she was drunk. Alcohol was involved here. Furthermore, her evidence is incoherent. She kept on crying all the time throughout her testimony. There were too many inconsistencies in her evidence. Therefore, there is no evidence upon which a reasonable person acting carefully may convict. Therefore, accused, you are found not guilty and discharged. Do you understand your verdict? Mr. David, the matter is finalized. You are a free man. You can go home. Court adjourned.
Rise in court.
I told you you didn't have a case. Told you. Huh? There was nothing here.
Man, that is good. I knew my son was going to make it out of this one. I saw you coming.
Hi.
I can't believe it.
You are such an embarrassment. How would you do that? Look at the shame this case has brought to our family. Look at the sister. Bringing her husband to court. The father of the children. You finish me at this place.
Let's go home. I told you already, this is nonsense. Let's resolve these things at home. Almost done.
This is not how court proceedings should go. The judicial officer epitomized how judicial officers stereotype and demonstrated how they should not conduct themselves. The judicial officer left the witness unprotected and did not stop the unreasonably long, protracted cross-examination. She perpetuated the stereotype that women are emotional and unstable. She showed a worrying lack of empathy when the witness testified and saw her crying as a reason to find her incoherent. She was in a hurry to be done and seemed not interested in doing it right, but merely rushing through it. The accused appeared to be dominant in the proceedings. He spoke out of 10, laughed at the witness, and made comments unchecked by the court. The judicial officer passed judgment without considering the argument made by the prosecutor that the accused had a case to answer to. It is evident that the judicial officer decided the outcome early in the proceedings. She also displayed a lack of judicial etiquette by not letting the issue of the CCTV be properly ventilated. When she first looked at the charge sheet, even before hearing the parties, she decided that the case ought to have been mediated. Though she fits the description of a vulnerable witness in Section 142.3432 of the CPA, the judicial officer was irate. She was battered by the lawyer and subjected to a long and cruel, protracted cross-examination. She became the one on trial, ill-prepared by the prosecutor, and was subjected to secondary trauma. What other inappropriate moments can you spot? It is said that the judicial officer sets the tone in the courtroom. Let us see whether there is any difference when the judicial officer has a different attitude.
Rise in court.
Please be seated.
The matter is for trial. The accused has pleaded not guilty on a previous occasion, and the state is ready to call the witness.
Your Worship, I confirm that I represent the accused person and the defense is ready to proceed.
Prosecutor, having perused the charge sheet, it is stated thereon that this is a matter in terms of the Combating of Domestic Violence Act. Would you seek to apply the provisions of Section 153, subsection 2A of the Criminal Procedure Act?
Yes. Since this is a case of a domestic violence matter, the state requests that the matter be held behind closed doors.
No objection, Your Worship, as it pleases the court.
Thank you. It is then ordered that this case will be heard behind closed doors, as provided for in Section 153, subsection 2A of the CPA. Can the gallery be cleared, please?
May you leave the courtroom, please?
It will also appear that this is a vulnerable witness in terms of Section 158A, subsection 3. Will the witness require special arrangements in terms of Section 158A, subsection 2?
That is correct, Your Worship. A witness is a person against whom violence is alleged to have been committed by a spouse. As per the definition of a vulnerable witness laid down in Section 158A, subsection 3C of the Criminal Procedure Act. I've also consulted the witness, and she indicated that she is afraid to be in the same place as the accused. It is requested that she testifies outside the courtroom using CCTV as provided for in subsection 158A, subsection 2D. She also indicated that she would prefer to have a support person provided for in section 158A, subsection 2C, and she requests that her sister supports her. We wish to apply that she accompanies the witness as she is present at this stage. We call on Ms. Jane Titus.
Your Worship, we have no objections to any of the applications made by the state, and we have no objections to Ms. Titus accompanying the witness during her testimony, as it pleases the court.
As the witness is a vulnerable person as provided for in Section 158A, subsection 3, having to testify against her spouse in a domestic violence matter, the special arrangements requested in terms of Section 158A, subsection 2C and D will be allowed. The witness can testify from a separate room using the CCTV system and with a support person, namely Ms. Titus. Can we check the CCTV equipment? Good morning, Ms. David and Ms. Titus. Are you ready? Can you hear us?
Yes, Your Worship. Good morning.
Yes, Your Worship.
Ms. Titus, as support person, it will be appreciated if you would alert me if Ms. David is in distress. You can give her physical comfort, but you cannot assist her in any way to answer questions unless you need to alert me. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Worship.
Ms. David, are you comfortable? Can we get started?
Yes, Your Worship, we may. Thank you.
Yes, Your Worship, we can hear and see you.
Can everyone in the courtroom hear and see the witness and court support system?
Yes, Your Worship, I can see and hear them both clearly.
Your Worship, I can see and hear them both clearly, but may I approach my client so that I can just confirm that he's able to see and hear the witness? Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Your Worship. We are good to go.
Thank you. Then we can proceed. Good morning, Ms. David. Please state your full name.
Elizabeth David.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And if so, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
The other hand, ma'am.
So help me God.
Ms. David, can you tell us what happened?
Yes, Your Worship. We were at home, my husband, the accused, and our 3 children, aged 5, 3, and our last born, who is 8 months old, Your Worship. We were all having lunch.
Ms. David, you can have a moment. Just let us know when we can proceed. There is water if you need some.
my husband started swearing at me, saying that I should learn how to make food because he cannot be married to a woman that cannot cook properly. And I got upset because he's always emotionally abusing me, and he always cheats on me, even though I try to always make the best meals for him.
Your Worship, I think the witness might need a minute.
Would you like a minute?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to continue. Your Worship, he then threw the food in my face, and he said that I'm a useless wife. And out of anger, I also told him that he's also useless. This made him very angry, and he pulled me off the chair. I fell to the floor, and he started to kick me. He pulled me by the braids, and he pulled them out completely. I'm sorry. He then pulled my skirt down, and he raped me. I said several times that he should stop, but this just upset him, and he really hurt me. He then left and went to his friends, and I called my mother, who then took me to the hospital where I was admitted for 3 days.
Did you sustain any injuries?
Yes, I have a scar on my forehead, and it was an open wound. I received stitches at the hospital. My left eye was also swollen and blue. I also had open patches where he had pulled out the braids on my head.
No further questions.
Cross-examination by the lawyer for the accused.
Miss David, were you sober on that day?
Objection, Your Worship. How is this of any relevance?
Your Worship, I hold instructions that the witness was intoxicated on that day and that she might not be able to remember clearly of the incidences that happened on the alleged day, Your Worship.
Objection overruled. The witness may proceed to answer.
I drank 3 glasses of champagne because it was Christmas Day and my husband had bought champagne.
Why did you call your husband useless, Miss David?
I didn't mean to make him angry. I mean, he just had my feelings when he called me useless.
Were you angry or were you too drunk to remember what happened on that day?
I was angry.
So you were drunk and you were angry?
I was not drunk.
Did you or did you not just admit to this court, Miss David, that you had 3 glasses of champagne on that day?
Yes.
Objection, Your Worship. This is speculative. The mere fact that the witness drank 3 glasses of wine does not necessarily render her drunk. The witness already testified that she was not inebriated, but the legal representative accuses her of being so.
Your Worship, I'm merely trying to establish the truthfulness of the witness's testimony, Your Worship.
You have asked the question and the witness has answered. I have to agree that you are repeating the questions, and it would appear that cross-examination is being protracted unreasonably, causing the proceedings to be delayed unreasonably as well. Thus, and in accordance with the provisions of Section 166, subsection 3A, I would direct that you move from this question and no longer pose any questions to Ms. David pertaining to whether she was inebriated.
If the court pleases, Your Worship, I will move on. Miss David, I hold instructions that my client did not assault you. He merely pulled you off of the chair after you called him useless.
He called me useless first. I then reacted by doing the same. He pulled me off the chair and then started to repeatedly kick me. I was admitted in hospital for these injuries to be treated, and I have permanent scars. And he also raped me.
You wanted some expensive pieces of jewelry on that day, and you did not like the necklace that he bought you. And so you made all of this up just so that you can accuse my client.
No, that is not true. I was not angry about the necklace.
I put it to you that you were not assaulted or raped on that day, Miss Davids. This is merely a vendetta on your part. You are accusing my client falsely. He did not do anything of the sort.
No, that is not true and not what had happened.
No re-examination, Your Worship. The witness may be excused.
Thank you, Ms. David. You are excused and your testimony is done. Ms. Titus, thank you for assisting a support person. You are excused as well.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Your Worship, the state wishes to hand in as an exhibit the Section 212 medical legal report that was completed by Dr. Samuel Thompson at the Windhoek State Hospital on the 25th of December 2021, and it indicates the injuries. The defense had received a copy of the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have had sight of the medical report that has been handed up, Your Worship, and I have discussed it with my client. We have no objections to the handing up of the medical report, Your Worship, as it pleases the court.
It is then accepted into evidence and marked Exhibit A.
Thank you, Your Worship. The state closes its case and will not call further witnesses.
I'm so sorry this happened to you. What happened to you is not okay. I hope you will be able to forgive us, the family. We do not condone this kind of behavior. I will always be your sister.
Thank you so much for being here. It wasn't easy, but knowing that you were here gave me the courage that I needed to fight, not just for my children and I, but for all the other victims of domestic violence out there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Yes.
The judicial officer in this scenario conducted the court proceedings with dignity, treated the witness and the accused with respect and courtesy. It is evident in the scenario that the judicial officer is in control of the court proceedings. We also consider the initiative to render support persons to the witness. The court is alive to the dynamics of a domestic violence vis-a-vis victims and perpetrators. Court explains what needs to be done and how support persons should proceed. The judicial officer did not allow the witness to be badgered during cross-examination. Other role players also had a different attitude, more respectful. They took cues from the judicial officer on how to behave and treat witnesses in court. Did you observe any judicial stereotyping in this example?